Welcome to the Bill Cartwright Show. Our special guest is USF Assistant Coach Vinnie Mcghee. Vinnie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Vinnie, what I always like to start with is we want to get to know you pretty quickly. Can you talk about where you grew up and talk about your parents, mom and dad?
Okay. Well, I grew up in Oakland, California, West Oakland, California. My dad is from West Oakland. He grew up in West Oakland, went to McClymonds High School. He comes from a family of has my grandma, my grandpa. My grandpa passed away. My grandma's still alive. She's still going strong. And I have seven aunties and uncles on my dad's side. So right there, that should already tell you that my dad's side of my family is super big, and they're McGee's, and that's a last name in West Oakland. So where if you go into West Oakland and you say that you're related to McGee's or you're a McGee, then you're gonna know somebody. Somebody's gonna know somebody. So that's my dad's side of the family, and then my mom's side. My mom is from Berkeley. Well, she was born in Oklahoma and then moved out to Berkeley, North Oakland area. She went to Berkeley High. Everybody on my mom's side went to Berkeley High, except for my oldest aunt who passed away as well. She went to Oakland Tech, but my mom and my aunt, they went to Berkeley High and they grew up in Berkeley. So that's where, like I said, that's where she grew up. So growing up, I was in between Berkeley and Oakland and West Oakland. So like that was like my area. I rarely went to East Oakland like that. Only time I would go to East Oakland is if I had basketball practice or if I had a game out there or something, or I went to like a friend's house or something like that. But a lot of my stumping grounds in my areas and where I was at was Berkeley, North Oakland, West Oakland. Like that's where I was at a lot. And then we started in my aunt, my mom, they lived together. So it was my brother, I have an older brother, so it was my brother. We have different dads. My older brother and my older cousin. We all lived in the same house on Alcatraz in North Oakland, Berkeley. Like it's like borderline right there. And then when my dad came into the mix, my dad moved us out and we moved to North Oakland, moved to West Oakland with my grandma for a little bit, and then we moved out to Hayward. So I lived in Hayward, but I was going to school in Berkeley and in West Oakland. So I was driving in. My mom worked in San Francisco. My dad worked in San Francisco. For my dad worked for United, and my mom worked for the courts out here in San Francisco. So they would come in, drop me off in West Oakland, and then literally get on the BART and go to work in San Francisco, and I'd be in West Oakland all day. Like after practice, after school, whatever, I'm either going to my aunt's house in Berkeley or I'm going to my grandma's house in West Oakland, and that's where I would be all day long.
Now, talk about what kind of kid were you in high school? Talk about where you went to high school. I know.
Okay.
And talk about what kind of kid were you?
Man. Well, all right. It's funny because I've always been since I was like little. I've always been like a talkative person. Like my mom said, I wasn't like a shy kid, nothing like that. And she said like I always like wanted attention. Always like I wasn't really like a shy person like that. So like when I was young, like I was always talking. So when I was in middle school, I went to Willard Middle School in Berkeley. And it's crazy because my older brother and my cousin went there first, right? So they go there and I'm having like their same teachers. They were good kids, right? So they were like angels. They loved them. They played baseball and all this different stuff. And, everybody's like, oh, they're great kids, great kids. Then when I came along, I was like a troublemaker. Like I was just talking in class all day. I used to get calls home every single day. I was like the first one to get suspended from school for like getting into a fight and all that different stuff. So like I was just like the live wire. But it was crazy because from Willard, your transcripts automatically go to Berkeley High. So I was supposed to go to Berkeley High coming out of middle school. But I didn't want to go to Berkeley High because I knew if I went to Berkeley High, I was just going to be on the same type of stuff that I was on when I was in middle school, just messing up, just talking and just being just a little troublemaker, I wanted to go to McClimate so I could keep my last name alive because everybody in my family went to Mac on my dad's side of the family. So I wanted to go to Mac. I was begging my mom to send me to Mac. My mom was like, no, you're not going to Mac. Like, it's rowdy, it's this and that. West, oh, no, you can't go. And I'm like, Mom, like, I'm going to be there with, like, family. Like, I got cousins that go there. I got, my auntie and my uncle still work there. Like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be fine. So my uncle really, like, he really put in the bid to, like, get me to go to Mac. And he told my mom, because I was about to go to Hercules High because my AAU program, they had took over the coaching at Hercules. Mark Olivier, he had took over at Hercules. So I was getting ready to go to Hercules, and it was just too much to like try to get out there, catch the BART, get on this bus, do this. It was just too much when I could just stay at my grandma's house and go to Mac and just go with my cousins, go be there with family and be good. And my mom was like, all right, I'm gonna let you go to Mac. All right. If your grades drop below a 3.0, you're done. Like, you're done. You got to transfer. You got to, you're done. So like that was like my mindset going into Mac as a ninth grader. I was just focused. Like I was like, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna do my schoolwork. I'm not gonna kid around. I'm not gonna mess around. I'm gonna do everything that I got to do to make sure I'm good. When I got to Mac, it was like it was one of those things like I was just locked in, and I just focused in on my schooling and sports, and I was good. I was good. I was a good student.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Talk about your sports.
So yeah, so when I first started, I like basketball wasn't my first sport. Everybody in my family played baseball and they played football, and they did like entertainment, like singing, dancing, like that type of stuff. So basketball was never like just like the sport that I just grew up with. Like my older brother played baseball, my older cousin played baseball, and I just wanted to be just like them. And so like whatever they were doing, I was doing. So they were playing baseball, I was trying to be like the best baseball player ever. So I didn't start playing basketball till my third grade. That's when I started playing, and I played in the CYO League in Oakland for St. Martin, a team called St. Martin de Porres. Like none of the players on the team went to the Catholic school at all, but we just played for the team. So it was just like a whole bunch of us from Oakland, all on this team, and that was like the first ever team that I played for. It was funny because I was playing soccer and I was playing baseball, and I remember my dad coming to me and being like, "You're gonna go to basketball practice," and I was like, "Okay." Like I was like, "All right." Like I played at recess. I'm not really like, well, that I'm cool. Like I watch Iverson. I was a big Iverson fan. Like I was a big, Jason Kidd fan and stuff like that. So I was just like, "All right, like I'll go give it a shot." And I started playing it, and I was pretty good. Like I played a lot, and I could shoot the ball and stuff like that, and I could dribble. So like I kind of like I liked it a little bit, but then once I got to the sixth grade, I got introduced to AAU basketball, and once I got introduced to AAU traveling basketball, traveling like it was over after that. Like that's when basketball kind of just took over from from baseball and soccer and all these other different sports. I just kind of just locked into basketball and just made that like my number one sport. So growing up from sixth grade through eighth grade, I was playing for the Oakland. Well, first I played for this team called the Oakland Panthers in the sixth grade, and then that team turned into the Rebels, and I went from the Rebels to the Soldiers because one of my best friends played for the Soldiers at the time, and they brought me over to their team. So we were like the first ever young soldier team that they ever had. Like when I was playing on the team in the seventh grade, LeBron was playing for our older team. So like I remember going to Cal and watching the Elite Eight and watching LeBron play when he was in high school and stuff like that. So it was big time. Like, oh man, it was crazy. So yeah, like when I got into AAU basketball, we were traveling, going to Vegas, going to LA, going, to the Nationals in Memphis, and then Florida and all these different places just playing basketball, it was just like wow. It opened me up to see like it's a lot more kids out there trying to play this game. So I had to take it serious. So I was always a guy growing up where it was like I'm just gonna outwork whoever it is. Like if I go to a workout and they say this is what we're doing, this is what you gotta do, I was gonna make sure like I was gonna be the first in line. I was gonna be the first in the sprints. I was gonna be the first. We're doing layups. I don't want to miss no layups. Like I was doing everything super hard and trying to be very detailed that way. So I was working hard. Like even when like guys would just be messing around, I'll be the one like out there like going hard, like breaking a sweat and just doing the most. And I think that's like was like what people liked about me, when it came to basketball. And then that just, like I said, over time, it just grew and grew and grew. And then that's why ultimately, like, why I did want to go to Mac, because I knew they had a good basketball program there with Coach Mo and Coach Booz being there. I call him Coach Mo, Coach Booz, but it's Dwight Nathaniel is Coach Mo. And Brandon Brooks is Coach Booz. That's who we call. So, I knew that it was, they had great teams there. I remember going and watching them when I was like young and stuff, and growing up watching all those guys from Oakland, watching the Armando Surratt's that went to Oakland Tech, the Antonio Kellogg's that went to Mac, and James Akinjo, Daryl Tucker, like all these guys that were like big time guys growing up to me. Allende Ubaka, Leon Poe, like going and watching these dudes from Oakland. It was big for me. And like I said, I just wanted to always just outwork those guys and just be able to hold my own when I was on the court with them. So when I got to Mac, like that was like my sport. I played football my freshman year, but it wasn't like I loved it. I liked it. It was cool. Like I was naturally talented with it because my dad's side played football. My uncle was like one of the best quarterbacks to come out of McClimate's, and he got a scholarship to Cal, and he ended up going to Cal from McClimate's. That was back in '85, and so I was like the next up. So they thought I was going to be like a big football guy going to Mac, but basketball was where my heart was.
Talk about your team at Mac, because you guys advanced really well. You did well. Talk about those couple years.
Yeah, so it's funny because I can't really give you that whole story without giving you like the details and background of it. So when I came in as a freshman, Antonio Kellogg was a senior there, and it was me and another kid named Kareem Natoto who ended up going to Hawaii out of high school, playing at Hawaii. So it was me and him. We were like probably like the freshmen of that class, and then one of my other friends named Antoine Graham. He was another kid that was really good in that freshman class. So going into Mac, so I played football my freshman year, and we played JV football. Like there's no freshman team. You just go straight to junior varsity. So I played football. So when you play football first, you go to basketball late. So like everybody, like at that time I had like a little buzz in Oakland. So it was like, okay, he's a good young freshman coming in, like he could play, blah, blah. So I had to play JV basketball my freshman year. So when I came, it was my freshman year I played JV. So when I got there, I'm playing JV, and every year at the end of the season, JVs, we only play the season and then we're done. We don't go to the postseason. So Coach Mo would always bring somebody up from JV, like bring two players up from JV to be on varsity. And then that's kind of like your gateway into varsity for your sophomore year. If you don't get brought up, then it's kind of like, you're going to have to play JV again next year. So when towards my freshman year, I played, and I was like, whatever. My coach didn't really play me like that. I played cool some games. I didn't play cool. So my boy Bub, which was Antoine Graham, he ended up getting moved up, and my other boy Mo ended up getting moved up, and I didn't get moved up. So I was just kind of like, damn, like I was kind of like shocked from that. But being the person that I am, I knew that I didn't want to play JV basketball my sophomore year. Like I knew, like my uncle once told me, He was like, if you want to make it to college and play in college, you can't be playing JV your sophomore year in high school. Like, you got to be playing varsity. So like that was always just embedded in the back of my mind. So I remember going to Coach Mo like after the season and him not moving me up. And I just called him and I asked him, I was like, hey, Coach Mo, like, do you mind if I like just come and practice with you guys? Like, I know I'm not moved up, but I at least want to come and practice and like just be around as much as I can because I'm playing varsity next year. And he was like, yeah, no, it's cool. Like, you can come and play and it's good. Like, you can come practice, it's fine. So I used to go and practice and, I was like learning the system and doing that. And once the season was over, they didn't go. They ended up losing in the second round to Coach Alaco and them De La. So after the season, we always had a summer league for Matt, and so I got pulled into the office my freshman year from my varsity coach for my varsity football coach. It's actually Coach Alonzo Carter, who is at San Jose State right now. He was our head football coach at Matt, and Coach Peters, Marcus Peters' pops. Um, he was like those were like the coaches at Matt. And he pulled me into the office and he had 7 names of like freshmen that played JV. And he was like, these are like 7 names that I'm shopping to college coaches because you guys have great grades and I think that you guys can play on the next level in football. And I was like, wow, like, so he was like, I want you to play varsity football next year as a sophomore. So I was like, okay, like, so then I'm like, all right. So then I had a meeting with Coach Mo, and Coach Mo was like, Vinny, if you play varsity football, then you're probably not going to be able to play varsity basketball because that year my sophomore year, we had Matt Simpkins coming in, who ended up going to Memphis. We had Frank Otis coming in as a freshman, who ended up going to SMU. We had Gabe Kendrick, who came in, who ended up going to Loyola Chicago. We had Deron Sims, who played at San Francisco City and then ended up going and playing at West Georgia. Like, we had like a big time team coming in my sophomore year for varsity basketball. So my coach was like, yo, if you play varsity football, you're probably going to have to play JV basketball. So like in my mind, like I was just like, I'm not playing JV basketball. I'm playing varsity basketball. So I ended up just grinding it out that whole summer. Sophomore year, I quit football. I didn't play football, and I just locked in the basketball. And I ended up starting my sophomore year at Matt on varsity for basketball. So it was like one of those things where it was like, I just kind of just locked in and I kind of like took the realm. So then my sophomore year, we did all right. We lost in the finals. I mean, not the finals, but we lost in the playoffs. My sophomore year to Newark Memorial, and they had Cal Spain and Trey Clark and Benjamin Washington, like all these different guys that were pretty good in the Bay. And then my junior year, we ended up winning the OAL. And then my junior year, we ended up losing in the OAL, but we lost in the semis to Frank Alaco again and De La Salle my junior year. And they ended up winning it that year, winning the state championship that year. And then I just remember after that junior year game, I like vowed to myself, like I was like, we're going to state, we're going to the state championship and we're locking in. And literally that whole summer, I had the team in there. We were going up to Strawberry Canyon in Berkeley, catching the bus up there, running the Strawberry Canyon. We were at every workout that Coach Booz would throw every weekend. Like, I made sure like everybody was locked in that year, and we ended up going state, and we ended up losing in the state championship my senior year. But we were 29-4. We only lost 4 games that year, but like that was like the beginning stages of like what Mac ended up doing those next 2 years. Like I started that foundation with Will Cherry, Frank Otis, DeMario Sims, Quincy Hill, like Damon Powell. Like I started that foundation of like working hard and like really taking it serious and really locking in and really, being about what the right things. And that next year, when I was a freshman at Sac State, they went 32-0 in '08. And I felt that because it was like, these guys were up underneath me and they really went there and they took it on one and they ended up doing great things. So like the next 3 years after that, like Will Cherry was when my junior year, Will Cherry was a freshman with us. And then my senior year, he was a sophomore. So from his sophomore year to his senior year, he went to the state championship every year. He lost his sophomore year, which was my senior year. He ended up losing. I mean, he went 32-0 his junior year, and then he lost his senior year. But like in that span, I think we only lost. McClymonds High School only lost because I know Will's senior year, they only lost 2 games. They lost 4 my year. So they only lost 6 games in 3 years at Mac.
So talk about, as you leave McClymonds, what are you thinking, and why did you decide to go to your particular college?
So about that. So my senior year, like I was getting recruited. Like I was the guy on the team who was like, it was me, Frank Otis, Will Cherry, and guys were like coming to like see. Well, really, me and Frank Otis, and then Will. They would come see us, and then they would see like Will like getting off, like you know what I'm saying. So then they'd be like, "Who is this young kid? Like he's a sophomore. Like yo, he's gonna be good." So they were, and then Frank Otis was a big 6'6", 6'7", undersized postman, but he like had skill and he was strong and nobody could stop him. So like he had everybody coming through the gym, and then me and him are cousins, so we were like. We always used to tell each other like, "Yo, let's make it a package deal. Like, I'm 1 year older than you, so like, wherever you want to go, like, just tell them to sign me first, and then you're gonna come like the next year or whatever." So like, we will always like try to do that. So when teams would come see him, they'd be like, ask my coach like, "Oh, who is Vinnie the guard?" Like my coach would like try to shop me, but I was 5'10". Undersized. I could shoot the ball really well. I wasn't super athletic, but I was like quick. So it was just kind of like, like we can probably go find another guy like over him or whatever. So I remember Pacific was super interested in me, like recruited me heavily. And like I went on like unofficial visits there and everything. And at the end of the season, like I was thinking like that's where I was gonna go and that's where I was gonna commit. But they never like offered me a scholarship. And like back then, it wasn't like this big offers and interests and like all these different things. It was just like, all right, if this school offers you a scholarship, that's where you were going. Like it wasn't like for me, at least it wasn't like I got to pick like where I was gonna go. So I was just like playing, and we had a great year. And then, it comes up like at the end of the year, like I didn't have any offers, so I had to get back out on the circuit and play in the AAU in the springtime AAU circuit before we graduated from school. So that circuit is in April. We graduate from school in May. So I go out the first tournament and I end up switching teams and playing with Phil Handy, who is now an assistant coach with the Lakers. I played on his first ever team that he had called Team 94. And we ended up going to Houston. And because it was like a startup team, like we go to Houston and we're playing like in the outside gyms. And it was like really like no coaches come to the games. And then the Soldiers are playing like on the main court with like all the coaches there, because at that time you had Matt Simpkins, Drew Gordon, all these different players on the team. So they're coming to see them. They're coming to recruit them. The Soldiers didn't have any guards at all that year, and they just had bigs. So I remember after we went to Houston for the Kingwood Classic, and I had a really good tournament out there with Team 94. But like I said, no coaches were at the gym, so it wasn't really like I was getting seen. So I remember after that tournament, the Soldiers did horrible out there. I remember Mark calling me And he was like, man, he's like, loved one, I need you to come back and play with us in Vegas. Like, we need you for Vegas. And I was like, man, I mean, I'm playing with Team 94. Like, he's like, no, he's like, I need you to come back. He was like, we're going to have coaches there. We're going to get you out. I need you to come back and play. I was like, all right. So I had to call Coach Handy, and he was cool about it. Like, he was like, nah, I get it, V. Like, I understand. It's all good. And like I said, we're still good to this day. But I had to leave Team 94 and go play with the Soldiers. And I ended up going out there in Vegas, and then that's where, Sac State had came to like a couple games, and they needed a guard and stuff. So I had a really good tournament out there. And I think like the game that they were at, I had like 16 or 17 assists, something crazy. And like when I played with the Soldiers, I wasn't really a scorer. Like I was more of like facilitator because I had guys around me that could score. So I didn't really need to score like that. But when I played with Mac, I was a scorer. So they didn't know like that I could really score like that. They just knew like I was a good point guard and I was tough and I was from Oakland and I like wore that on my sleeve every time I played. So so come after the Vegas tournament, I come back home and basically Sac State, they bring me up for they tell me to come play open gym and come talk to me. So I go out there, I play open gym, and I'm killing in open gym. I'm doing my thing, and then they're like, all right, like you, but I don't know if we're gonna give you a scholarship. So then the coach is like, all right, V, like this is what we got. Like we want you to walk on, and we want you to, like walk on for a year, and then we'll scholarship you after that or whatever. And at that point, at that time, I was just like, whatever. Like I was like, all right, I'm down. I'll do it, whatever. Because I knew once I got there, I was just gonna go in, work harder than everybody, and try to take whoever spot it was in front of me. I was trying to take it. And like that was my mentality going into college. And basically, like I want to say 2 weeks, because they get out of school before we in school. So I want to say like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before my graduation, Coach Jenkins calls me. It was really Coach Grace, David Grace, that was recruiting me. And he called me and he was just like, hey, V, got some good news for you. And I was like, what's up? And he was like, one of our players basically flunked out school. So they had a scholarship open and they ended up giving me the scholarship that they had open. So I ended up getting the scholarship to go to Sac State before graduation from school. And my grades were great. Everything was good. So I was able to just go right in, and I ended up getting the scholarship to Sac State my freshman year. And then that's why I went there. And when I got there, everything else it was all uphill from there.
So talk about your experience, some of the guys you played with, some of your better games that you had,
Mm-hmm.
and then talk about as you left, what were you thinking?
So when I got to, you talking about at Sac State, right?
Sac State.
Yeah. So when I got to Sac State, so they had a senior guard that was already there. They had a junior guard that was already there. They had a sophomore guard that was in front of me. Then they brought in me. They brought in a JUCO transfer and somebody else. So automatically, I already had like the like everything that you would think as a freshman was against me. Like I had a senior guard in front of me. I had a junior guard that was right there too that played. And then I had a sophomore guard that they loved like in front of me too. So when I got there, like I said, my whole mentality was like, I don't care who it is in front of me. I am taking their spot. So every day in practice and in weights and in workouts and in whatever, I was trying to be the first person in everything. Like I want to be in front of the line when we do stuff. If they show stuff, I'm gonna be locked in to see exactly what it is that they're doing. So when I get out there, I can know to run it and it's not gonna be messed up. And so I remember like it was crazy because they wanted the JUCO guard that was in front of me. They wanted him to be like the next up guy. And I just kept beating him out in everything. So then they just kind of like, well, shit, like, I think we just got to roll with this freshman. Like, let's just give him a shot. So our first game was against, uh, who was it? Oh, it was K-State, Kansas State. And that's when they had Michael Beasley. He was a freshman too. So they had Michael Beasley, Jacob Pullen, all these guys. And Michael Beasley actually he broke Kevin Durant's record that game versus us with a double-double. Like I think he had like 20 in like 20 or something, like something crazy. Like it was ridiculous. But so we're in K-State, and I remember it's my first college game, and I remember walking into this arena, and everything was purple. Like it was just purple everywhere. And I was just like, wow. But I didn't really like think too much of it. Like I was just like, okay, it's a basketball game. So we start the game, and the senior starts, and I'm coming off the bench, and the senior starts, and he's just like kind of like turning the ball over and not really playing too well. So coach throws me in the game. He's like, freshman, go in there. And first thing I remember, I get out there, I get the ball, they try to pressure me up, and I go by him, and I go to the hole, and I get fouled. So I'm like, oh, cool. Like I get fouled, I'm cool. Like I shake it off, I shoot my free throws, make my free throws. So I end up basically that game, I end up having like 8 points, 7 assists, and no, I end up having 8 points, like 5 assists, and 7 turnovers. But it was just like I wasn't scared out there. Like that's the thing. Like I was just attacking. Like they didn't care. Like I wasn't out there playing scared. I was out there competing. I was out there doing what I was supposed to do as a freshman. So you had your senior that wasn't doing that, and you had your freshman that was out there like really just out there hooping. So then the next game, I ended up starting, and I ended up starting every game after that. After that first game, and basically, I remember my second game. We played Southern Utah, and they were a D2 at the time, and I had like 16 points and 12 assists that game, and it was just like at that point, like I was just like I was just in the zone, and then we weren't really that good. We lost the game. We lost a lot of games. We only won 2 games, and one game that I remember winning. We were playing against Montana State, and no, we were playing against Northern Colorado, and I ended up hitting a game winner versus them. Montana State, both times we played them, I had 24 the first game. I had 30 the second game. I remember that 30-point game was crazy. Like I didn't miss a shot in the first half. I had 22 points in the first half, and I didn't miss a shot. I hit 5 threes, and I didn't miss a shot, and I ended up with 30 that game. We ended up losing by like 2. It was crazy, but like I just remember like after games, like I would be exhausted because I would play like 40 minutes, and I would be exhausted. Like we'd be in the airport after the game, and the like whole coaching staff would like come, and like my team would be over. Like we just lost like a tough game, and my team would be over there like just goofing off, playing around, doing this, like, and I would just step away from them because I was a freshman. They weren't really trying to listen to me like that. I was just step off to my side, and I'd just be like in my head, like why I hated losing. I didn't come from losing, so it was like we were losing, and I just didn't like it. And I remember the coaching staff would just come over there to me, and they'd just be like, just keep working, just keep grinding, just keep working. You're gonna be all right. You're gonna be good. It's like, all right, like but it was just one of those things. Like it was crazy. But yeah, we ended up not having a good year. And after that, like literally after our last game, we played Weber State, and literally after the game, the next day we had a meeting with our AD, and they had fired my coach. So it was just crazy because it was just like, dang, like this guy gave me a chance, and they ended up firing me.
So, okay. So what were you thinking after that? And then talk about your transition from college. What were you thinking?
transferring from Sac State to Northridge.
Yes, let's talk about that, and then talk about your transition from there out of college.
Okay. All right. So basically after so my coach gets fired. All right. So I'm just like, dang, like, all right, I don't know what's going on. But I just knew that, I had a good year. Like I knew I had a good year. And I ended up getting freshman of the year that year, as a freshman. So the assistants are still there. My coach gets fired. The assistants are coming up to me and they're like you're safe. Like you're good. Whoever gets this job, you're gonna be good. Like you're gonna be safe. They're gonna once you you don't have to worry about anything. So I'm like, okay, cool. So then mind you, McClimate's is winning and they just win the state championship. So I'm talking to my coach, my high school coach, and he's like, yo, I got a whole bunch of coaches calling me, like asking about you. Like we're like they want you. And I'm just like, what you talking about? They're like Santa Clara, USF, Creighton, Wyoming, Marquette, like all these different schools. And I was just like, what? So I'm just kind of like I never got recruited. So it was just like, okay, like I'm talking to him like what you think I should do? He was like, I mean, I don't know. Like if you wanna stay, you should stay. If you don't want to stay, you got options. And I was just like, okay, so my AU coach was like, okay, if he gets the job, the coach that was the assistant at Washington under Larissa Romar, if he gets the job, then you should stay. But if he doesn't get the job, then you kind of want to get out of here. And it was crazy because a couple of like alumni from the school like said the same thing to me. Like, if they get cats, like you should leave. And I was just kind of like, okay, like. So they end up hiring cats, and like I said, everybody just started calling my phone, like, yo, you need to get out of there, you need to get out, you need to get out, you need to get out. And it was just crazy because like now parents are so involved in like their kids' decision, but everything was so new for like my mom and my dad. Like they never had to go through it. Like my brother went to college, and my mom like he financial aid, and my mom helped out, and he went to Cal State East Bay and stuff like that. But like they never had to deal with us because I got a basketball scholarship, so everything was different. So they were just more so like, all right, if you like it where you're at, then you should just go. Like I went on my visits by myself. Like my parents never went with me on none of my visits. Like I was by myself on all my visits. So um so yeah, so transitioning, so Katz gets the job. So he comes in, and like one of our biggest things at Sac State was that we had bad students too. So that was like one of the things. And I think this was like a way for him to weed people out. He made us have a study hall at 5 o'clock in the morning. We would have study hall at 5 o'clock in the morning as soon as he got the job. Like first things first, we got study hall at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I was like, dang, like 5 o'clock in the morning study hall? I don't know. And then we had workouts and stuff like that. So it was just kind of like too much going on. And I just was like, I don't know. And my grandpa was actually wasn't doing well. And I would go back home and I would go visit him and stuff like that. So I remember going back home, and I had a talk with my uncle and a lot of people, and they were just like, "Yo, you should probably, you might want to get your release and, try to look to go somewhere else." And I was just like, you know what? All right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get my release, and I'm gonna see what's up. So I ended up going back, getting my release, and it was crazy because I went in there to get my release from Cats, and he goes, "Vinny, you know what's crazy is that I knew that you were going to get your release, and this weekend we ended up signing 2 guards this weekend because I knew that this was going to happen." And I was just like, okay, like what if I was to come in there and be like, I'm staying, I'm locked in. You just gonna bring these 2 guards in, like, So it was just crazy. But I ended up getting my release, and the day after I get my release, Weber State calls me, Coach Ray calls me, and Coach Ray calls me. He's like, "Hey, Vinny, heard you got your release. We'd love to have you up here at Weber. We got your boy Damian Lillard coming in as a freshman. I think you guys would be really good in the backcourt." So I was like, yeah, I know. I heard you guys, really well, and I'm just gonna try to take my time with it, and just see what's going on. It's like, oh, okay, Vinny, well, just keep me posted with whatever you decide. I'm like, okay, cool. Dame calls me 5 minutes after that and is like, "Yo, bro, come up to Weber with me. Like, we'll run it up there." Da 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 da. And this is like how silly my mind was. I was like, I don't want to go to Weber because you guys are sponsored by Adidas. I actually said that to him, and I was just like thinking back at it. It was just kind of like why was I even on that type of hype as a person? But I ended up, like I said, I kind of shut Weber out. Then Rex Walters called me. He was getting the job here, and Rex called me, and I remember it was Rex. Um, and Northridge called me. Northridge was like Coach Wilson was one of the ones at Northridge who like he was on my head every day, calling me every day, calling me every day, calling me every day. So I was like, I was looking into Northridge. I was like, it's cool. It's in LA, in the Big West. Seems like a cool school, whatever. I'm gonna go check it out. And I end up like getting ready to go on my visit. The night before I go on my visit, I have a conversation with Rex, and Rex is like, Vinny, we want you here. We'd love to have you here, have you back home. It'd be great for you to come here. And, I see a lot of different things in you that, I can help get you to the next level. Like, he was doing that. And I was like, man, that sounds good. Like, I love USF. Like, I would love to, go there and stuff like that. So he was like, all right, just do me a favor. When you go on this visit, just do not commit on your visit. I was like, all right, I won't commit. I won't commit. He's like, when you get back, we're gonna bring you up here to USF. We're gonna bring you on a visit, and we're gonna get you done. We're gonna get you to come here. He's like, all right, whatever. Like, cool. So I ended up going on my visit to Northridge, and like I said, I never had like a visit. Like I never did one. So when I went to my visit to Northridge, it was like everything amazed me. So like they picked me up in this nice Escalade on 26-inch rims and all this just crazy flashy stuff. It's LA, it's hot. You got beautiful women walking up. They take me to Venice Beach, they take me to Hollywood, they take me all over LA. They're feeding me all these nice different meals and all this different stuff. I play open gym and I'm, killing an open gym. And I go to a party with the players and it's like love and it's fun and it's, like they did their job. And I remember the night before my last day of the visit, I called my mom and I was just like, I think I'm about to commit. She was just like, I mean, if you like it, sure, like why not? And the next day they brought me into the office and they, did the whole little rundown and had the papers out there and I committed on my visit to Northridge. And it was just crazy because, like I said, if I just would have just not been patient, like, like, I don't know if I was, my life probably would have been a little different. Things would have probably went different, but everything happens for a reason. So I ended up going to Northridge and my career at Northridge didn't do as well as my career at Sac State because when I was at Sac State, I was focused, I was locked in, I had a chip on my shoulder. Nobody believed that I was going to be good. So like that was like my motivation. When I got to Northridge, it was like the opposite. Like I was the man, I was the new freshman of the year coming in. So like people like loved me and I didn't really respond to that well. We were good. We ended up going to the tournament my that year there, and I just didn't work as hard. I went out there. I didn't work hard. It was I fell behind in school. Like I was getting Fs and got suspended off the team and got back on the team. Like it was just a whole bunch of mess when I was at Northridge. That's why like I didn't play as well as I did when I was at Sac State, when I was locked in, I was focused. So I went from being like the top of the top to like
Yeah.
nobody, you know. So
You lost your focus.
lost my focus, and it was just crazy because like I would still have games where I would have like 20 points, 18 points. Like I was still like I averaged probably my my first year there, I averaged 7 points. My second year, I averaged like 8 points, and then my last year, I averaged like 9.5, 10 points a game as a senior or whatever. But it was just like my freshman year, I averaged 13 points. So I should have went from averaging 13 points to averaging 14 to averaging like doing it that way, and I kind of it went the other way. But and then I wasn't like starting and stuff like that. But whatever. So I remember it was crazy because as I was at Northridge, I hated my coach. I didn't like him. I was playing the victim when I was the wrong. Like me being a coach now, I was the mess up. You know what I mean? But I was pointing fingers and blaming it on everybody else of why I was playing how I was playing. You know, they were just doing their jobs and playing who was, you know, the contributors out there, and I was kind of like coming at it at that angle of like, well, I'm a senior, I'm supposed to be playing more, I'm supposed to be doing this, you're supposed to give me the ball, I'm supposed to be in. It's like, no, you're not obligated that. Like you getting F's in school, like why do we need to, you know what I mean? Like, so it was just like kind of like that where like during like I just would always like I knew I didn't like him, but I didn't show him that I didn't like him. I still showed up every day in practice, played hard, did what I was supposed to do, but I never like showed him that I didn't like him because I my mom and my dad taught me to respect your elders and do that and don't talk back. And so I was never like I was very coachable, but after practice I would go back and kick it with my friends and be like, man, fuck him, forget him, I don't like him, like you know. So it was crazy because my last game um, we played Fullerton, and after the game we only had two seniors, and after the game coach is going through everybody on the team. We lost, we ended up losing a tough one. We lost by like 6 points or something. It was like a tough game, and we didn't go to the postseason that year. So I remember him telling me afterwards, he was just like, Vinny, like I was the last person he talked about. He's like, Vinny, you know, man, like I love you, man, and you know, you've been great with me here. And I really think that you should be a coach. And I was just like thinking to myself, and I was like, I want to play basketball. Like, I feel like I could play professionally overseas or somewhere. Like, I feel like I'm that good, like that. I could play. I felt like I was on a leash at Northridge. Like, that was like my mental, right? I'm like, I'm trying to go play basketball. So, like, I'm not hearing anything that he's saying. And he's like, Vinny, like, I really think you're a coach. You have leadership skills. I think that you will be a great coach one day. If I ever have a spot on my staff, I will hire you as a coach. And I was just like, oh, thanks, coach. But like, it was literally like in one year, out the other, because like I was trying to play basketball still. So after after I got done with Northridge, we didn't go to postseason. So I was just trying and trying and trying and trying to go get anything that I could overseas or whatever. Nothing was shaking out. Nothing was happening. I was still living in LA. So I started doing like commercials and stuff. And like I was just trying to like have money in my pocket. So I started doing commercials. I started doing this. I started, you know, trying to get into acting a little bit. And it was just like I was just lost. So my cousin, that I like I said I grew up with, he saw that I was lost, and he like I would still help out. Like I would go and work out like my other teammates that used to be my teammates at Northridge in the summer. I would train them and stuff like that. And I came back home and I started training back home. And I remember, like I said, so my senior year when I was coming out, Dame was getting ready for the draft, and like I said, I was training. I was trying to get on. I was trying to do this. And I remember me and Dame worked out together. It was like right after he got signed, and right after he got drafted. And we were working out at Merritt with Coach Chris Farr, who Chris Farr used to work here. And Coach Farr, we were working out. And I remember that workout. I didn't miss a shot. I didn't miss a shot, and Dame didn't miss a shot. And we were just pushing each other. It was like a super high level workout. And Chris Farr was like, "Man, V, like we gotta get you something." It's like, "Man, I'm trying. Like I'm ready." And like I said, nothing was happening. And then I ended up playing ABA ball with the San Francisco Rumble, and I played good there. Played like 4 games, averaged like 20-some points, but it was just like nothing was shaking. So then my cousin, he lived in Portland, and he had his basically his stepson. They were sophomores in high school, and one was a sophomore, one was a senior. And he was like, "Man, I think they got potential to be really good." He was like, "I'll move you out here, and I'll pay you weekly, and your job would be to basically mentor him, train him, get him get him ready for like college. Like let's try to get him a basketball scholarship. Like give him like he has like the talent, he has all the tools, but he's not motivated. Like he doesn't work out every day. He plays video games all day long. Like he's just talent. He's not really like, he's trying to use like that to get over or whatever." And he's like, "If he had like your mentality and your hard work, your work ethic and all that, like he would be good." And I was like, "Oh, shoot, like I'll do it." Like I was getting ready to work at Sunglass Hut in LA. Like he was like, "No, come out here and like work on that." So that's where I kind of like said, forget basketball. Let me tap into like my skill development part of things, and let me get into coaching. And I moved out to Portland, and Dame was, I want to say Dame, it was his sophomore season out there with the Trailblazers. And me and my boy, which is one of his best friends too, Phil Taylor, and my other boy, Dondrell Campbell, we ended up starting our basketball skill development business called Champs Basketball Academy. And we ended up basically just started working kids out, like out of Portland. And we had Peyton Pritchard early. We had like a lot of those different guys. And we were just working them out, training them. And I was out there doing that. And I wasn't really making a lot of money like that doing it, but I was like getting better at working people out and stuff like that. I actually was working at 24-hour fitness. I was working the overnight shift. So I was going to work at 10 p.m., getting off of work at 6 a.m., then going and working kids out from 12 p.m. to when I got to go to work again at 10. So I was like really grinding, and ended up basically doing that. And that same coach from Northridge that told me that he would always hire me if he had a position, he was the operations guy at UTEP under Tim Floyd. And he gave me a call one time, like while I was out there, and said he had a grad assistant position open, and if I wanted to do it, and I went, and that was
So you
that.
ended up in Texas El Paso with Tim.
Yep.
After that, you left there and
Yep.
you went to Northern Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
That brought you to USF.
Yep.
Can you talk quickly about the difference in the three and what you learned at all three places?
Okay, so when I got to Texas El Paso, I was fresh, like I was green, very, very, very green. And I just thought like I was gonna go there and I was gonna be able to just train the guys and be like the skill development guy, like the guy that's just in the gym with these guys day and night, all day, like doing that. And the way Coach Floyd ran things wasn't really like that, but he was starting to open up to that. So I want to say I kind of like me and Ken DeWeese, we kind of like broke that barrier of like Coach Floyd was an old school guy. Like he wanted guys to be out there, chase your own rebound down, get in the gym by yourself, work out by yourself. You don't need a trainer that has cones and doing this and doing all this different stuff. Like go out there and you put your own work in. He was like one of those kind of guys. And I was like, I said, I was like the new age trainer with like, I throw the cones out there. We're doing dribbling drills. I'm gonna throw the cones out there. You're gonna dribble through the cones. I was really wild. Like I was doing crazy stuff. And the guys like liked it. Like, they had never did it. So they were liking it. Like I had guys in the gym all the time. And like I said, I was doing that. Like I was in there, I was in the gym with them every single day, day and night doing what I was supposed to do. But then I also did like the meals and did like the travel stuff. Like I had also did that type of stuff too. So going there, it was like kind of like that's what I did. And then I was there for 6 months. And then Ken DeWeese was the third assistant there. He got the second assistant job with Jeff Linder, who was at he was at Boise State. And Jeff was here too for a second with Rex when Rex first got the job here. And then he was at Weber State. So I played against Coach Linder when he was at Weber when I was a freshman at Sac State. And I also played against him when he was at Boise State when I was a senior at Northridge because we played against Boise State. So when Ken DeWeese got the job at Northern Colorado, they had a third assistant position open, but they weren't paying anything. They're paying like salary was like $25,000 a year, and a lot of coaches, like older coaches, they weren't going to take that. Like if they were somewhere like $25,000, like if you got a family, like that's it's kind of tough.
Yeah,
so
that's tough.
yeah. Linder's whole thing was like, I want to get a young guy who's going to be in the gym with these guys, and like doesn't have a wife, doesn't have a family, like he could just grind. And Deweese was like, oh, I got a guy like that. And then he was like, well, who is he? What's his name? He was like, Vinnie Mcghee. He's from Oakland, played for the Soldiers, kind of knows like a lot of guys out there in Oakland. Like, I think he'll be good in this position. And Linda was like, I remember Vinnie. I know Vinnie. Like, yeah, ask Vinnie if he'll be interested in it. I'm like, duh. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I go from making $1,000 a month as a grad assistant to having a salary with benefits. Like, and I'm an assistant coach, no doubt. So he ended up calling because Linder actually recruited Dame to Weber, and he ended up calling Dame, and he ended up calling Coach Raym, who is Damien's AAU coach, Raymond Young, and Linder ended up calling both of them and was like, do you know Vinnie Mcghee? And Dame basically texted me. Linder sent him a text. Dame texted me, and I was like, bro, line it up for me. And then Raym, they both just spoke highly of me to Coach Linder. And then Linder hired me and brought me on. And so the differences between all of those. So when I was with UTEP, the way Floyd ran things, he kind of ran things kind of like NBA style, where it was kind of like you're on your own. You just got to learn like as you go. It's not really like wasn't really as detailed, as super organized. He was a great dude. Don't get me wrong, like great guy. I learned a lot like defensively with him. Just like how to approach certain things. Like I have tattoos. So when I got there, it's super hot in Texas. So I was wearing short sleeve shirts and shorts. And I had tattoos like on my arms and on my legs. And he was like, pulled me into the office. And he was like, first thing, but you got to understand about this business is that it's ran by guys that, tattoos weren't really a thing for us back then. And I kind of don't want my program to be looked like that. So I'm gonna need you to cover up your tattoos and be more business oriented like that. So I used to have to wear long sleeve shirts and pants every single day. even if it was 120 degrees outside. And that's just what Tim like put in me. So like when I left and went to Northern Colorado, like that was like my first question I asked Linder. I was like, hey coach, I have tattoos. Like, is it okay if do you want me to wear like long sleeve shirts, or do you want me to, cover them up? And he was like, just do your job. Like, I don't care about that. Like, he's like, that might help you get a player. That might be something that you guys have in common, like that you have tattoos and he has tattoos. You might win the edge on him or something like that. So like, that was like the difference. So like where, Floyd ran it like that. When I got to with Linder, I was super green as an assistant coach. It was be my first time recruiting. It'd be my first time traveling, doing like different things. And he just basically took me under his wing and like really was on me every single day about like details of my scouts, details of, my approach to practices, details of getting into the office early. Like, I would get into the office at 9 o'clock and they would be there already at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I would come in and he'd be like, fucking, I should never beat you to the gym, to the office. Da-da-da. Like, he's like on my head about that. But like, I'm coming from UTEP where like sometimes Floyd gets there early, sometimes he gets there right when practice starts. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't really like, I didn't really have a timetable when I just needed to do my job. But like Linda was super anal on me about that and like details and being punctual with everything. Like he would look at my scouts, and if I had like a typo or like any little thing, like if this guy had 16, if he averaged 16.7 and I put 16.8, like he would be like on my head about all of that. And it was just more so like just preparing me for like the move that I made coming to USF. And once I got here with Todd, it was like I knew like how to do things. Like I was comfortable in it. I ended up when I was there, I signed 2 players, and it was like crazy because like I was young. I was so young in it. Like I was 26 years old when I was assistant there. So I was super young, and I ended up doing a good job and signing players, and like players that I trained were like the point guards there that I would work with every day were getting like all conference and stuff like that. So, and then it would be times like I would be out there and I'll be in the gym with the guys at like 12 o'clock in the morning, and we'd be working out. And Linder would walk into the gym. My head coach would walk into the gym at like 12. And he'd just look, and he'd be him and his wife. Like he would like, I guess, come get something late at night because he couldn't sleep like that. And he would see me in the gym, like with these dudes at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, like grinding. And he was just like, like I could tell he was just like, damn, like, he didn't expect to see me in there like that, or he probably did, and he was happy that he did see me in there. But when I got here with Todd, like it was the same thing. Todd just kind of was like, he didn't know how I was on the court, like he kind of did. But then once he saw me on the court the first time, he was just like, yeah, like I love this. I love this guy, and he knew that like I was locked into it. And in the Bay, my connections in the Bay with me and Hubby would go on the road. We would be on the road, and everybody. I would know everybody in the gym because of just being from here. And we got some players as soon as we got here, and like I said, Todd more so gave me. He let me off the leash. Like he let me do what I wanted to do. If I wanted to offer this kid, he let me go offer this kid. If I wanted to run this workout like this, like he would come to me and ask me like, "Oh, yo, how should we do this with this workout? Like, I want you take the guards and you go do your thing with the guards." Whereas with Linder, it would be like, "I want you to do this, do that with the guards, and make sure you do it right." Todd was like, "You got the guards, handle it." You know what I mean? And that was like the buildup of it. So like I would say UTEP was like my introduction to college sports and like opening my eyes to things and getting like my professionalism of it. Northern Colorado was like the grinding and the tuning up and doing it. And here was more so like the letting off the leash and letting me blossom and be, the coach that I could be.
Talk a little bit about this year's team and why we should be excited.
You should be excited because we are super talented. No, I feel like this team is kind of like a resemblance of our first year team that we had here with Jimbo, Charles, Rainbow, all those guys. I think we're actually probably a little bit more talented than that team. But I want to say, Ty says it all the time, it's probably like one of the most talented teams we've had since we've been here. But, we got Bouye back. We got Khalil back. And then we got really good grad transfers and transfers in. We pretty much brought our whole team back and plus added in some pieces that we needed that we weren't really good at. We kind of struggled a little bit in the back. Not in the back court, but in the front court, and we ended up going to go get pieces in the front court that they give us production. So it's kind of refreshing because now we bring size, we bring length, we bring scoring in the front court, we bring defensive presence in the front court. I probably want to say alone in all these games, we probably have more blocks in our first 4 games than we had in all of our years probably here from like our guys or whatever, like with Yalian, with Pat, JB, doing it, and we're older. So I think like that old wins in this conference. So, just being older, having guys that have been through the fire. Pat has been through this league. I mean, not Pat, but Yalian has been through this league. He came from this league. Pat played at a high level. I mean, he kind of didn't really play at Duke, but he practiced against those guys every day. He was at Duke. Then he was at Columbia. Gabe played significant minutes at Columbia in the Ivy League against good teams. And then you got Zay Meeks, who came from Nevada, and he played good minutes. So, like, it wasn't like we just got freshmen or we went and got guys that, hadn't played and that weren't familiar to Division I basketball. We actually went and got guys that are familiar to it, that had production at their previous spots, and they're coming in now this year with that chip and that hunger of wanting to get to the tournament.
Awesome. Well, Vinnie, I'm very excited about this year. Yeah. I want to thank you for being on the show.
Man, thank you for having me.
Really well. I'm looking forward to the season. Looking forward to the game tonight. So
yes, let's go. We got to get this one done. We've been, like I said, we played them last year, and like I said, we gave our guys this ticket. Coach TG told them the other day is every game that we play, that's just somebody our way of trying to get to where we want to get to. So that's how we got to look at it. We got to be excited to play every game that we play, and it's just somebody else that's in our way. So we got to run them over, push them over, get in front of them and move them along. So get them out the way so that we can get to our ultimate goal, which is to get to the tournament and get a national championship.
That's our goal.
Yep.
Let's go get them.
Yes. Thank you.